Hi, I'm Coach Amber. Welcome to the Meet RX podcast. And today we have a special guest, Maria Emmerich. Hi, Maria.
Hi, everybody.
It's so nice to have you. Thanks for coming on the show. Okay, so let's get started. Can you kind of give us an idea of what it was like for you prior to starting Carnivore? Did you have any issues or anything that you were trying to address by going meat-based? And anything you can tell us in that kind of area.
When I was 16 years old, I was not feeling well. And so I went to my family doctor and I was told I was given 3 prescription drugs. I was given an antidepressant. I was given an acid blocker. I was given something for my IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and I was told I had PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. And the doctor said it was nothing I was doing wrong. It was just the cards I was dealt. And if you know anything about polycystic ovarian syndrome, it's basically a type 2 diabetes that is affecting female fertility. And at the time, I worked at a coffee shop where I drank mochas like crazy because they were free. And I made all the cinnamon rolls and scones and muffins. And then at the end of the day, what didn't sell came home with me. And so I was, twice my size. And I was just not a happy person like I am now. But that very same week, my dog, she was a beautiful golden retriever, and she was losing patches of her hair. And the first question the vet asked me was, what are you feeding her? And so immediately, bing, light went off. We went home. We changed both of our diets. Her hair grew back. And immediately my depression went away. I never filled those prescriptions. I healed totally through food. And that's when I wanted to go into nutrition and exercise physiology in college, because I was always the athlete. I was always just a really big athlete, literally. And so pairing nutrition and exercise physiology was what I did for my education. But yeah, that was over 23 years ago that I changed my diet completely. Was it called keto then? No. If you would have told me to go carnivore then, I probably wouldn't even have tried. And so that's where I come from, a place of no judgment, where let's work together, and I'm going to teach you why meat is the way to go and why vegetables. I work with vegetarians, and I always say, okay, is it because you love animals that much, or is it because you think it's healthy? Because if you think it's healthy, sit down, we have a long chat right now, because they're not. And, I discussed that, but that was basically how I started. And the reason that meat healed me, I didn't have to take any of those medications. And I love it when people, lose weight, that's great. But when it is mood changing, when it can fix depression and anxiety, that is like the best testimony I could ever hear.
I love that. That is awesome. And I really, really love the part about the vet asking you what you're feeding your dog. I mean, seriously, what a light bulb moment. I love that. Okay, so when you kind of moved more meat-based, can you kind of give us an idea of how you implemented that, and what do you eat now? And did you ever have any issues transitioning over to a more meat-based diet?
Well, with keto, there's a lot of like nut flour recipes and a lot of vegetable recipes. If you look back in my beginning books, like I was telling you on my interview, there's only about 5 vegetables allowed. First of all, because I didn't ever feel good eating them. And so I didn't include broccoli and cauliflower, any of cauliflower rice. I didn't think it tasted good, and I didn't like using it. And so when I would do like a fried rice, I would use eggs and use a whisk and cook it so it made little pieces of rice. That was my rice. And so when people are like, oh, you're a carnivore, I was like, well, if you look back, I kind of sprinkled those vegetables in, but it was more because I wanted to be mainstream, should I say, because I didn't want to be seen as really unhealthy, not saying vegetables weren't good. So I guess I was pressured with all of that. But it all started when I had 2 little baby boys we adopted, and life got really busy. And then Craig got really sick, and we didn't know what it was. And as it turns out, it was Lyme disease. And I feel really guilty, but I used to think Lyme disease was overblown. But man, this guy went from a strong, healthy, happy dude to a week. He still has a hunch. We just went on a walk and we had to take breaks. even though he's getting better, he had it for many, many years before we even addressed it. And he says eating keto is what helped the inflammation, but going carnivore made him be able to walk with me without medication, without taking painkillers. So that took it. It was because my kids, I got busy and carnivore simple. My kids didn't like vegetables and Craig got sick. And another thing about the kids didn't like vegetables, we got a lot of pressure from families saying, your kids don't eat vegetables. How are they going to get their nutrients? And Craig, Mr. Scientist, man, I just posted a picture on Instagram on carnivore recipes of where the nutrients are compared to kale and blueberries and everything what people think is really healthy. And then meat, beef and organ meat. Beef and organ meat blow everything fruits and vegetable wise out of the water. And then we dug deeper and found out all of the anti-nutrients in vegetables. And we were like, boom, we don't need to buy vegetables anymore. And with this coronavirus, it's really flipping awesome because I don't have to go to the store.
I love that. That is just perfect. Yeah, y'all be sure to catch Craig's interview too, because his story is absolutely amazing. I love that story. Okay, and so you kind of hit on what improved for you. Okay. Do you want to expand maybe just a little bit more on what you noticed when you started cutting out the vegetables?
So I have a background a lot with like stomach issues. Like I told you, when I was younger, I had IBS and acid reflux. And I always noticed when like around Thanksgiving, you know, we would go to my family's house, and this was before kids. My mom would make like a bunch of Brussels sprouts and all this stuff. And I really liked like roasted Brussels sprouts. So I'd eat like a ton of them. I just feel awful. I just, you know, like I didn't really blame it on the vegetables, but now that they're out, like, hey, I just had a steak and a piece of fish. It was a lot of protein and I feel light as air. Like there's no burping, there's nothing coming back up. And that would always happen with vegetables. And like, I love how it just makes me feel energy. Like people laugh because, first of all, why do people allow coffee on carnivore? Because it's a bean. But I have no caffeine. I can't, especially with PCOS, there's no caffeine in my life. And people are like, wow, you're like the Energizer Bunny. And it's like, meat really healed me for sure.
That is awesome. Absolutely awesome. I love hearing that. And again, I have to thank you for being on our show. It is wonderful to have you. I think, you know, what you're doing in the keto carnivore world is really amazing and changing so many people's lives. And I, for one, I love you and Craig both. I think y'all are fabulous.
We adore all of you, and we feel that all tides rise all ships, right? And how instead of seeing it as, you know, like, I don't know if you want to say competition or whatever, we want you guys to like, we need to get the word out there and help people get better. And that's what we're all about. Like, I don't want to be working 9 to 5 all the time. You know, I want to be out on my paddleboard too. So like, let's all work together to get people healthy. And it's a win-win for sure.
I love that. And that is exactly Sean's philosophy. So that just works perfectly. I love it. Again, thank you so much. And be sure to check out Maria's interview with Sean. She did a longer interview and she goes through everything. And it was a really great interview. So be sure to catch that too.
Amber.
And thank you so much for joining us, Maria.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.